So, in the past 8 years of the Obama presidency, pretty much all the late night show hosts, all the comedy shows, pretty much took a break on criticizing the president because, of course, it was Barack Obama. He was the God King to many on the left, to many in the media. They treated him, with a sort of godlike, almost reverence. I mean, quite literally in many cases. And the guy was untouchable. He was immune to any kind of real criticism. He'd be labeled as racist, and the media and the Hollywood establishment, the Democrat establishment, they all propped up Obama as if he was completely untouchable. And of course, you're racist if you disagree with him. And the tables have definitely turned because now you've got Donald Trump in there. And all you see 24/7 is constant attacks, constant hit pieces from the media, from Hollywood. And it's had some people wondering, when will a line be drawn? Because, of course, there's been calls to violence, actually, in some cases. You've had Snoop Dogg do a mock rap video where he pretends to shoot a clown character that is clearly portraying Donald Trump. You had Madonna, of course, saying that she wanted to blow up the White House. You had one of the actors from Stranger Things on Netflix come out and basically say that it was okay to punch Nazis, aka Trump supporters. And of course, you just see this kind of rhetoric again and again throughout the media and throughout Hollywood. And usually it is people on the right that are getting the majority of the criticism, people that are labeled as far right, conspiracy theorists, racists, what have you. But every once in a while, because of the sort of outrage culture that we live in nowadays, every once in a while, even somebody on the left sort of crosses the line and takes it a little bit too far and finds out all too quickly that their side of the political spectrum will throw you under the bus without a second thought. So this is from the Washington Post. Colbert, that would be Stephen Colbert, had a lot to say about Trump and Putin. Now he's silent amid #FireColbert backlash. President Trump has, for months, been the target of Stephen Colbert's pointed jokes and mockery. But many on social media believe the Late Show host went too far Monday night in making an oral sex joke regarding Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. #FireColbert was trending on Twitter Wednesday morning. There's a new Twitter account called FireColbert, @FireColbert. Its first tweet, "It's time to fire Colbert." It's time he be removed from CBS. Let your voice be heard. #boycott all of Stephen Colbert's advertisers. There's also a new website, firecolbert.com. The anger from Trump supporters was over a series of jokes that Colbert unloaded in the last 2 minutes of his monologue on Monday night in reaction to how the president dealt with CBS political director John Dickerson. And of course, President Trump was being interviewed by John Dickerson, and he basically said that he was fake news, pretty much, and called his program Face the Nation. He called it Deface the Nation, I believe, which, a lot of people laughed. A lot of people thought it was funny. It's clearly trolling the media. I don't really have a problem with it. A lot of people, of course, just see it as Trump's assault on the media and the First Amendment, just totally absurd in my point of view. But of course, that's what started this whole monologue from Colbert, from Stephen Colbert. And I just gotta say, I'm a supporter of the First Amendment, 100%. And that applies to people I agree with, that applies to people I disagree with, and everybody in between. So, what you've got here is people that are saying that he should be fired. People that are saying that you should boycott his advertisers. Now, if you don't like what Stephen Colbert is saying, and I certainly don't, I don't watch his show. I've seen clips. I think the skit he did with Rachel Maddow was pretty funny about the tax return fiasco when she revealed his tax return. I thought that was actually pretty funny. Aside from that, I really don't think the guy's all that funny. I prefer Jimmy Fallon or even Jimmey Kimmel. I actually think they're funny. I don't watch any of those guys very much, though. But if I had to pick, it'd be one of those two over him. And of course, when you've got the constant anti-Trump drumbeat, it gets old. I've heard it all before, and I think at this point it's unoriginal, it's uncreative, and I would like to see people take other angles of humor, of political humor. I personally have gotten tired of it. Not to say that you should be able to make fun of the president. You absolutely should be able to make fun of the president, whether it's Barack Obama or Donald Trump. So I just want to say, I think the calls to boycott, I think the calls to have him fired, in my personal opinion, is a step too far. If you don't like the show, don't watch it. But this is what he said. Mr. Trump, your presidency, I love your presidency. I call it disgrace the nation. Sir, you attract more skinheads than free Rogaine. You have more people marching against you than cancer. You talk like a sign language gorilla who got hit in the head. And here's the joke that angered many. In fact, the only thing your mouth is good for is being Vladimir Putin's you-know-what holster. And I'm saying you-know-what. I'm not saying that. Trump supporters immediately took to Twitter saying Colbert's jokes are homophobic. So obviously he's joking about the president basically giving fellatio to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. But it was obscene. It was lewd. And it came off that way to many people. It was overtly offensive. It was clearly venomous and vitriolic. I mean, it was completely just without class, none whatsoever. To many people, it went across the line of humor, and it went into just pure insult. There was no comedy there for a lot of people. That was just an absolute insult. And again, we've heard it all before. We get it. Donald Trump is Vladimir Putin's puppet. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Yeah, we've never heard that one before. So clearly people are upset, and it goes on here. So some Trump supporters immediately took to Twitter saying Colbert's jokes are homophobic. The fact that Colbert can make homophobic statements shows his privilege and systematic oppression of minority groups. #FireColbert. So just some clear trollery from some Trump fans, Trump supporters on Twitter, or maybe just an absolute troll. Who knows if he's an actual Trump fan or not. And then it goes on, but it's definitely worth noting that anytime somebody on the right says something that could even maybe be taken as being homophobic or sexist or racist, you name it, it's a huge issue. It's a huge deal. It's a big deal. But then, when somebody on the left says something like that, I think a lot of people like to overlook it. But with Colbert, for whatever reason, this one definitely caught fire, and there are a lot of people that are actually quite upset about this, regardless of their political affiliation. A spokeswoman from CBS's Late Show and Colbert's agent have not responded to requests for comment. Sitting on a panel on the Fox News Specialist on Tuesday, Karl Rove, who is, no wonderful person himself, who was a senior advisor in the administration of former President George W. Bush, called the jokes lewd, obscene, and inappropriate. Quote, "They wrote this. This was not a rant that he came up with on the top of his head. They wrote this," Rove said, adding later, quote, "I'm going to continue to do what I do with anything Colbert. I'm going to refuse to watch the SOB." And that would be, I gotta say, I agree with Karl Rove on that one. That would be my advice to anybody. You're free to say that you think someone should be fired. You're free to, push for boycotting certain products. And in some cases, I do support boycotts. Not for someone's First Amendment because you disagree with it. I'm sorry. That's just not something I can get behind. Many on Twitter demanded an apology. Fire Colbert needs to apologize to the American people, or someone needs to punch his lights out. And another one, Colbert went over the top last night. CBS should at least suspend him for what he said about Trump. CBS should apologize, quote unquote, over the top. And so the FCC, someone from the FCC, because CBS, who, Stephen Colbert's show is on, of course it's FCC regulated, and someone from the FCC did say that it seems like this is completely legit under the First Amendment. There is a chance that it could violate some FCC rules of being basically too inappropriate. And if that's the case, they said that there could potentially be some consequences. If that's the case, I'm fine with that. Just do whatever, legally you're supposed to do when it comes to the FCC regulation. That's their jurisdiction. When it comes to CBS, if they want to, take action, if they want to suspend him or fire him, that's their choice. That's their option. Everybody has the option of saying he deserves to be fired for this, wanting to boycott products for this. That's fine. That's totally up to you. I'm not on that same page. I feel like Stephen Colbert is not very funny. I don't enjoy his show. I think he isn't as good as a Jimmy Fallon or even Jimmey Kimmel. But when you look at why he's done this, him bashing Trump, same with other news organizations and other comedy shows, bashing Trump has gained ratings for them. So that's why they continue to do it. Who knows whether or not Stephen Colbert actually hates Donald Trump or what his personal politics are. I really don't give a darn. The fact is, yes, what he said was, in my view, completely inappropriate. Completely, out of touch with reality, and absurd and just not funny. So that's why I don't watch Stephen Colbert. And you are free to do the same, or to do whatever, handle this situation, or have whatever perspective you want on this situation. But I think we need to be careful. I'm talking about people on the right, conservatives, libertarians. When you're talking about free speech, it needs to be protected, not just when it comes to people you agree with, but also people that you absolutely disagree with. That's actually what the the First Amendment is all about. And now we move on to an article from the Daily Wire, illustrating the wonderfulness of Obamacare. Another Obamacare insurer drops out, killing Obamacare in Iowa. In 2018, Iowans may not have access to health insurance. That's because Medica, a Minnesota-based health insurer, which is the last major health insurer in the state, has stated it might well stop selling health insurance policies. The company released a statement saying, without swift action by the state or Congress to provide stability to Iowa's individual insurance market, Medica will not be able to serve the citizens of Iowa in the manner and breadth that we do today. We are examining the potential of limited offerings, but our ability to stay in the Iowa insurance market at any capacity is in question at this point, the company's statement said. Aetna and Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield have announced they will no longer be a part of Iowa's individual health insurance market. Iowans getting insurance via an employer or a government program, such as Medicaid or Medicare, will not be affected by Medica's withdrawal, But 70,000 Iowans I think that's how that's pronounced, who buy their own coverage could be left insurance free. As the Des Moines Register reported, unless a replacement carrier is found, the change means moderate income Iowans must, in most counties, would not be able to use Affordable Care Act subsidies to help pay premiums for private insurance. It also means many better off Iowans who pay their entire premiums without government assistance would lose their individual insurance policies next year. So, of course, what Obamacare did and what it was designed to do is kill the free market system for healthcare and move it towards a single payer system. That was the whole plan of Obamacare. It was not a system that was designed to work. And in fact, it actually would have failed a long time ago if it wasn't for the Obama administration looting money from Fannie and Freddie. But that's a whole nother topic, one I've touched on before, and one I will definitely get into more in the future. So the money was stolen to pay for Obamacare in the first place. It wasn't appropriated by Congress. It was a total failure. One of the key architects of it, Jonathan Gruber, went around from university to university bragging to college students about how Obamacare passed because of the stupidity of the American voter. Obamacare, that is a program that has caused insurance premiums to go through the roof, deductibles to soar sky high, and for the actual health care that people get, it is degraded, it is declined. People are paying more for healthcare that is not as good. And there are many reasons that Obamacare did that. Some of the biggest reasons are some of the regulations that were in Obamacare that really restricted insurance companies and made them have to do things that were cost prohibitive. For instance, having to, for certain healthcare plans, having to have certain things that were covered. And in some cases that would include, getting like a prostate exam, for females, and having like birth control covered if you're a male. Ridiculous stuff. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. They made it to where you couldn't have competition between state lines. Just you name it. They had a clause in there where insurance companies had to accept people with pre-existing conditions. That's not insurance at that point. You can't crash a car and then get the insurance for the car. It doesn't work that way. So there's just all these things that they destroyed the market. They destroyed the system. They wrecked it. And now you've got whole healthcare insurance providers that are dropping out of the system entirely because they can't be in it anymore. They're just losing too much money from it. So fundamentally, Obamacare completely failed. It did not create a better healthcare system, not in the slightest. And it's actually creating a death spiral in the insurance market that is going to leave millions of people, like the poor people in Iowa, without insurance of any kind whatsoever. And now, on to Bloomberg. Atena to quit Virginia's Obamacare market. Atena Incorporated is quitting Virginia's Obamacare market for 2018, the second state that Chief Executive Officer Mark Bertoli is exiting as he seeks to limit his insurer's risks from the beleaguered health law. Quote, "We will not offer on or off exchange individual plans in Virginia," Atena said in an emailed statement. Citing $200 million or more in losses the company anticipates this year on individual products. The insurer also cited, quote, "growing uncertainty in the marketplace for the plans." United Health Group Inc., which has largely stopped selling ACA health plans, said last month it was pulling out of Virginia. Also in April, Atena said it would not sell Obamacare plans in Iowa, in Iowa's market next year. Yeah, and so there you have it. I mean, just one after another, they're having to pull out of all these different, insurance marketplaces because it is ineffective. It is cost prohibitive. And at the end of the day, these are insurance companies. Their whole purpose for being is making money. With Atena's Virginia exit, the insurer will only be in Delaware and Nebraska next year if it doesn't leave those two. Quote, "We will communicate decisions on our remaining states as appropriate," Atena said in the email. So it doesn't sound too hopeful for the future. And of course, you've had states like Arizona where the premiums have skyrocketed. They've increased 116% in Arizona. And why this happened is because the free market system was restricted, and there was all these different regulations and provisions in Obamacare that were put in place. The individual mandate, having to cover people with pre-existing conditions, even if they've never had health insurance before. Having all these, the essential care or whatever it was, where it was just all this whole list of all these different things that you had to offer in healthcare. It didn't just allow for a younger person to just get a catastrophic plan if they wanted something that was cheap, just to cover them if anything really bad happens to them. And just all these things shrunk the marketplace down. It made it to where insurance companies couldn't compete. They started dropping out one after another because the people that joined onto Obamacare, the vast majority of them, the most of it was an expansion in Medicaid, an expansion in government subsidized healthcare for low-income people. And what many of those people that got put on Obamacare had chronic illnesses, chronic diseases. They had serious health issues that cost a lot of money to treat. And that cost doesn't just disappear. It has to go to somebody. And it wound up going to the taxpayers. It wound up going to the people who had the middle and higher income class people who had better health insurance plans. Their premiums skyrocketed and helped to offset the costs. And it just is a failing system. It's an absolutely failing system. It is leading us down a road that is going to leave millions of people uninsured. It's going to we're going to be left with a absolutely demolished healthcare system and healthcare marketplace that is not going to be able to provide good quality healthcare for anybody. And we're moving in that direction. And you see so many people defend Obamacare, and I get it. It's because people care. People are good people. They think that everybody should be able to have healthcare. It just doesn't work like that in real life. And unfortunately, some people really try to pull on the emotional heartstrings, and that brings me to my next story here from the Daily Wire. 5 things you need to know about the hospital where Jimmey Kimmel took his son and why it is not a case for Obamacare. So Jimmey Kimmel did this whole tearful, monologue. It was really sad about his son. His newborn son had some sort of a heart defect. They actually weren't sure if he was going to make it, and they took him to a really nice hospital that took care of him, and he's better now. And it was this whole sad thing, and then Jimmey Kimmel turned it into an appeal for Obamacare, and it's just not cool. And here's why. By now, Jimmey Kimmel's tearful monologue about his newborn baby son needing surgery to fix a heart defect has gone viral, Kimmel used his son's situation to plead for Obamacare to stay in place. The Daily Wire's Michael Knowles summed up the situation perfectly on Twitter. Praying for Jimmey Kimmel's son, and a reminder, no one in the United States is refused treatment for lack of money or medical insurance. Indeed, everyone wishes Jimmey Kimmel's baby all the best, but it is not a case for Obamacare. Here are 5 reasons why. And that point that Knowles said is very, very key, very important. It doesn't matter if you have no insurance whatsoever. If you walk into a hospital, the ER, you've got a gunshot wound, they're going to take care of you. They have to. It's their legal obligation. Yes, the cost will go to somebody, but they have to take care of you, even if you're an illegal immigrant. It doesn't matter. Number 1, the hospital that treated Kimmel's baby is a private charity hospital. And this is so key, I cannot stress this enough. Indeed, the Children's Hospital Los Angeles website states, Children's Hospital Los Angeles, CHLA, is a 501c3 nonprofit institution that provides pediatric health care and helps our patients more than 528,000 times each year in a setting designed just for their needs. Our history began in 1991 in a small house on the corner of Alpine and Casteller Streets, now Hill Street in Chinatown, and today our medical experts offer more than 350 pediatric specialty programs and services to meet the needs of our patients. CHLA is a provider of more than $232.6 million in community benefits annually to children and families. As the first and largest pediatric hospital in Southern California, CHLI relies on the generosity of philanthropists in the community to support compassionate patient care, leading-edge education of the caregivers of tomorrow, and innovative research efforts that impact children at our hospital and around the world. So, I mean, this just cannot be stressed enough. The hospital that Jimmey Kimmel took his son to, that was so great, that was able to take care of his son, that had the surgeon there with the experience and the qualifications to be able to do that incredible surgery and take care of his son. The reason we're able to have in our country such good medical care, such good health care, medical care available to people at all, is because through the free market system, we have been able to build the best medical system in the world. That's why people fly, even still, from all around the world to come get surgeries and you name it here in the United States. Because we have the best doctors, because we have the best surgeons. It's because of the free market system that has helped to build that up. It is because of philanthropists. It is because of, private donors and people who put their own money of their own free will into organizations, like the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, that allow them to be able to do something like that. It's not Obamacare that allows that to happen. It's not socialism that allows that to happen. It's Obamacare and socialism that destroys that very system. So just absolutely key that people understand that hospital is a charity hospital, and Obamacare is actually destroying our healthcare system, not helping it. And again, people don't get turned down, just because they don't have insurance. All right, that's not the way it works. 2, what that means is that private charity is a valid solution to help those who are in need, which is the point that Shapiro makes in his response to Kimmel's monologue. Quote, none of this means we shouldn't have social support for those who fall through the cracks, who lose their jobs during a pregnancy, for example. That's what communities and churches and hospital charities are for as a start, wrote Shapiro. 3, prior to Obamacare, people were not dying in the streets as a result of being denied coverage for pre-existing conditions. Healthcare policy wonk Avik Roy pointed out in Forbes that employer-sponsored and government-run healthcare insurance plans were already required to cover pre-existing conditions prior to Obamacare, which accounted for 90% of Americans with health insurance. So people's insurance in many cases before Obamacare still required that they would be covered even with pre-existing conditions. Number 4, the pre-existing conditions mandate from Obamacare is one of the key factors in driving up healthcare costs. That's because a pre-existing condition mandate creates an incentive for people to wait until they're sick to purchase insurance, the equivalent of waiting until your home burns down to purchase fire insurance. And look, I know that might sound cold, but why do you think these insurance companies are dropping out of the marketplace? It's because they're not making money anymore. It's the world we live in, okay? People need to be able to make money. Okay, the reason that the surgeon that was able to perform that heart surgery on Jimmey Kimmel's son was able to do what he does is because the guy makes millions of dollars a year and he's, studied his whole life for this stuff. I mean, that's just the way it is. You don't get the best healthcare with a socialized system. You just don't. And you can look around at other socialized healthcare systems, and they're not very spectacular. They're not very stellar. People get put on very long waiting lists. And, a lot of the times the taxes that they have to endure for that system are very high. So it's just a bad move all around. Obamacare is a total disaster. It's a total failure. And it's sad to see Jimmey Kimmel using his son's horrible issue to try to prop up Obamacare. And number 5, Kimmel did not provide an example of a baby getting denied care due to a pre-existing condition. And there's a reason for that. It's because it doesn't happen. And what Jimmey Kimmel and what a lot of people do is they use their emotions. They use their heart, not their brain. And you have to have emotion. You have to be empathetic towards people. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. All right, I'll just leave that there. And now we move on to the possible Obamacare replacement. Here we go again. From CNBC. House set to vote on GOP Obamacare replacement bill on Thursday. NBC News. The House of Representatives will vote Thursday on a controversial Republican bill that would repeal and replace key parts of Obamacare, the GOP's majority leader said. The expected vote will come a day after 2 leading Republicans, Representatives Billy Long and Fred Upton, agreed to switch their expected no votes on the bill to yes votes. Quote, "We're going tomorrow, yes we are," said Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican California. All right. That guy is such a lightweight politically. I just never hear it, but what has that guy even done? I mean, really, Kevin McCarthy. Let me know in the comments or something if you know something worthwhile that Kevin McCarthy has done. Anyways, asked if he had the votes to win passage of the bill, McCarthy told NBC News, "Yes, we do." He is enthusiastic. If the bill is passed Thursday, it would then go to the Senate, where I gotta say it is probably gonna have a tough time. Republicans hold majorities in both the House and Senate, but they have struggled for nearly 2 months to get a hold at enough GOP House members to support the bill, which will be uniformly opposed by Democrats. The vote, if it does take place Thursday, will occur without the White House receiving the so-called score of the bill from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office. The CBO, in analyzing an earlier version of the bill, projected that it would result in 24 million more Americans being uninsured by 2026 than would be the case if Obamacare remained in place as is. The CBO also estimated that premiums for individual health plans would spike by 15 to 20% higher in 2018 and 2019 than if Obamacare remained in effect in current form. The original version of the GOP was deeply unpopular among the public, garnering support from just 17% of Americans, according to one poll. Yeah, it was really low. I mean, all the polls I saw, there wasn't even one that was like 50%, really. So, I mean, it was way, way down there. It had absolutely no support from the people. It was bipartisanly hated, in terms of the public, and of course, also in terms of the actual Congress. They weren't going to have anywhere near enough votes, and that's why they pulled it before they actually voted on it, because they knew that. And it was a horrible bill. It really was. It was bad in so many ways. It left massive parts of Obamacare still in place, virtually all of the regulations. It still didn't allow for competition across state lines. It still required insurers cover people with pre-existing conditions. But it got rid of the individual mandate, which was one good thing, and oddly, also the reason that so many people were going to leave the insurance system, not because they're going to lose their insurance, like the doomsday proclamations from Bernie Sanders would like to have you believe, where he said millions of people were going to die on the streets because of this bill. I mean, it just absurdity of the highest order. I mean, I expect nothing less from Bernie Sanders. Of course, he's a good old six-finger socialist over there, but he's just a total fraud. In other words, so, of course, I'd expect nothing less from the guy. He thinks we should have a socialized healthcare system, something like something like Cuba or something. I just don't even know. And of course, Cuba is so great that you have to actually bring your own toilet paper to the hospital. So, hope you look forward to that in America if Obamacare actually stays in place. And the COB said that there was going to be all these people that left, the insurance market, and that it was going to cause premiums to skyrocket. And they did mention it, but not a lot of people picked up on it, and they really didn't highlight it in the article or the report from the CBO. But it was people that were going to voluntarily leave the insurance system. Why, you ask? Because there was no longer a mandate. And it was really quite that simple, because people weren't going to get charged for not having insurance. It's really costly, to have insurance, and you don't really get that great of coverage nowadays. So people, if they're not going to get charged a fee for not having it, a lot of people would have chose just to not have it. And of course, the media and the Democrats never like to bring up that little detail. They just would like you to believe that evil Donald Trump is going to kick all these old poor people off insurance, and they're all going to die on the streets. So just totally not true. One thing that is worth noting about this new healthcare bill, which they're going to vote on it on Thursday, apparently. This kind of just popped up out of nowhere. There had been some rumblings about it, but this is a little bit of a surprise to some people. I haven't got to really get into the full details of it. From what I understand, it's pretty similar to the American Health Care Act, the one that was put forward before. That failed dramatically. Only there are some slight differences. The main difference being that they're going to set aside $8 billion for states to put into a high-risk pool for people with pre-existing conditions, because they are actually going to get rid of some of the requirements for insurance companies to cover people with pre-existing conditions, which is it needs to happen. Again, I think we can come together and take care of people, but when you're having people get put on insurance who already have chronic illnesses, it just drains the insurance system. That's not insurance at that point. You just can't call that insurance. So I'm not saying these people shouldn't be taken care of. I'm saying that is a very bad way of doing it, because it wrecks the whole system. And now we move on to our last article of the day from Metro CO. And just another example of the left cannibalizing itself. They've created this sort of politically correct bubble, this sort of PC culture, this outrage culture, where They've just got these buzzwords. They label people as racist, sexist, homophobic, you name it. And if anybody comes out and says something that is offensive, people feel like they have the right to basically consider you the worst person in the world. Oftentimes, it's people on the right that get the brunt of this because it's a creation of the left, largely, and the just vitriolic, rabid assault on free speech coming from the left, which used to protect free speech, just pretty bizarre. And every once in a while, though, someone on the left actually gets a taste of their own medicine. And I try not to revel in it too much, but let me tell you, it's hard sometimes. And this, so this is from Metro CO. You disgust me. Katy Perry blasted for, quote, offensive and racist joke about former President Barack Obama. So even Katy Perry, of all people, who is like, the social justice warrior supreme. I mean, she just all day long is talking about how she supports LGBTQIP plus whatever rights. I don't mean that demeaningly. It's just the control of language bothers me. And just all these new phrases, all these new definitions and terms get added, and if you don't know them, then you're somehow, homophobic or sexist or trans, queer, gender fluid phobic or something. I mean, it gets ridiculous. At some point, it sounds like it sounds like a freaking Star Trek movie or something. It just gets nuts. And people get attacked for this stuff all the time. Even people apparently like Katy Perry. So Katy Perry has been slammed for fans by an offensive joke comparing her former black hair to President Barack Obama. The Roar singer was showing off her new do in an Instagram live and asked fans to ask her questions. When one fan asked about her famous black haircut, she quipped in a sarcastic tone, "Oh, someone says, I miss your old black hair." And she responds, "Oh, really? Do you miss Barack Obama as well?" Oh, okay, times change. Bye. See you guys later. Well, trigger warning. Some people got triggered. The 32-year-old giggled and turned to see her friend's reaction and then said, "I should leave now," as the live stream ended. Yes, because the pitchforks and torches are coming. It did not go down well with her fans. And here are some of the different Twitter reactions. Katy Perry really effing tried it with that white ass joke. What does Barack Obama have to do with your dry ass white hair? And she does that laugh, emphasis on that laugh, that whites do when they know exactly what they're saying. Katy Perry, you disgust me. So a little bit of, casual white racism there, which is, of course, the last acceptable form of racism, but that's okay. She's racist for, talking about Obama. I love how they combat racism with racism. That's just supposed racism with, racism, actual racism. People are not reaching with this Katy Perry Obama joke. It wasn't outwardly racist, but it was microaggression with racial undertones. Oh man, Katy Perry, you and those microaggressions, you better watch out. Whoa, wow, Katy Perry, the reference to former President Obama was offensive and poor, tasteless attempt at humor. Your privilege is showing. So, Miss Katy Perry, you may very well need to check your privilege on that one. And, I just gotta say, the left, the PC outrage culture that is mainly a product of the left, you people have created a monster. And it is an uncontrollable beast that will absolutely destroy all of you too. So what needs to happen is people need to understand that free speech needs to be protected no matter what, no matter who it is. No matter if you agree with them, no matter if it's, you know, Alex Jones or Katy Perry, it doesn't matter. You have to protect free speech. Because if you don't protect the free speech for the people that you disagree with, if their free speech isn't safe, in other words, your free speech isn't safe, then that's the way that works. And people are just going way too far with this, all right? People are saying, you know, that she's racist for comparing her hair to Obama. She's saying, what I got out of that, what I think normal people probably got out of that is her hair was black, Obama was president, Obama's no longer president, her hair is no longer black, and probably not going back that way anytime soon. That's what I got out of that. But people on the left, the social justice warriors, the PC culture, outrage culture people, the Antifa people, the anti-First Amendment people, they always want to affirm their confirmation bias, and anything that they see as a symbol of oppression or racism, they will jump on it and blow it up and turn it into a big deal. And they are not winning over anybody with this. So that's definitely the good news. But I think it needs to be highlighted how completely absurd it is when Katy Perry can't even get away with making a joke, and her own fans, you know, say that she's racist. Just totally absurd. Totally bizarro land, but I think it actually is a little bit good to see the left getting a taste of their own medicine. Maybe this will actually red pill Katy Perry, and maybe she will become a gigantic Trump supporter after this. Just kidding. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you did. Please subscribe and leave me a comment. I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you've got, you know, you'd like to chime in on anything, any of the different articles I talked about. If I was completely absurdly wrong on something, you know, go ahead and point it out. No, really though, if I say something wrong, point it out. And yeah, I would just like to hear from you if you got anything to say. Also, you can listen to the audio version of this on SoundCloud, and you can follow me on Twitter or Facebook, and I will have the links for all that in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and may the force be with you.